Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. All praises are Allah's, Lord of all worlds. And may His peace and blessings be upon our Master, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, and His pure immaculate Ahlul Bayt. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajal faraja. Last night I discussed how irfan is being abused today throughout the Muslim markets, Muslim bookshops throughout the world, be it in Iran or America, and how personalities are being grossly exaggerated to the detriment of Islamic doctrinal principles. We discussed a book last night, and I wanted to discuss one tonight, but I've postponed it for tomorrow. So I'll discuss this book for tomorrow, inshallah. Tonight I wanted to discuss some of the opening clauses of Dua Kumayl. And inshallah tomorrow, because some brothers were expecting me to speak tonight concerning the subject of false irfan. In Dua Kumayl, in the opening section, there are a number of clauses. And these clauses have been commentated upon by the holy Imams themselves. So I thought it may be useful to discuss these with you. Allahumma aghfir li adh-dhunub allati tahtiku al-isam. O Allah, forgive me those sins which tear apart safeguards, which tear the veils of immunity. Many of us are immune to many kinds of sins. For example, we're 100% immune to adultery, inshallah. We're 100% immune to homosexuality. We're 100% immune to a number of sins. However, in this clause, we're asking Allah to forgive us those sins which have the potential and capacity to tear these veils of immunity, which would in turn lead us to any kind of sin. Now, one of the Imams, in one of the traditions in Wasa'il al-Shia, has said, وَالذُّنُوبُ الَّتِي تَحْتِكُ الْإِسَامِ. Those sins which tear apart safeguards, those sins which tear the veils of immunity, leading us to sin, are, and then he gives a list. Shurbul khamr, drinking wine. Drinking wine has this potential. One has to be careful. It has the potential to lead one to any kind of sin. It can break the veils of immunity. After drinking wine, there's no guarantee what you'll do. وَاللَّعْبُ بِالْقِمَارِ, gambling. That also tears the veils of immunity. وَتَعَاطِي مَا يُضْحِكُ النَّاسِ مِنَ اللَّغْوِ, making people laugh by doing futile things. You have to preserve the veils of chastity sometimes. You can't do anything to make people laugh. There's an etiquette to everything. You can't do futile things and make people laugh as a result of them. I'm not saying don't make people laugh. I'm not saying don't be humorous and have a good relationship and discuss sometimes good things with people and make them happy. No, but there's an etiquette to making people laugh. وَذِكْرُ عُيُوبِ النَّاسِ, giving an account of people's faults, reciting people's faults to others. This too breaks the veils of immunity. The Imam is saying this. وَمُجَالَسَةُ أَهْلِ الرَّيْبِ, sitting down with people who are suspicious in behavior. They're doubtful. You don't know who they are. Their accordance with the Sharia is questionable. Sitting down with them on a permanent basis may lead to breaking the veils of immunity and leading to all kinds of sins. Allahumma اغفر لي الذنوب التي تنزل النقام. Forgive me those sins which draw down afflictions, which lead to adversities. What does this mean? Again, the Holy Imam says, وَالذُّنُوبُ الَّتِي تُنَزِّلُ النِّقَامِ. These sins which draw upon afflictions and lead to adversities, they are إِسْيَانُ الْعَارِفِ بِالْبَاغِ. Disobedience of one who knows, disobedience in one's religion. You know what your religion says and you go against it. You act disobediently. You'll be attracting afflictions upon yourself. وَالتَّتَاوُلِ عَلَى النَّاسِ, transgressing people's rights. By doing so, this will lead to adversities. You have to be careful. Rights of your spouse, your children, your neighbors. You can't transgress the rights. If you do, the bala will descend upon you. وَالْإِسْتِئْذَاءُ بِهِمْ وَالسُّخْرِيَّةُ, making fun of people. You can't make fun of people in Islam. You have to be very careful. Dignity is at stake here. You can't make fun of people, of all kinds of people, even non-Muslims, but especially with Muslims. And especially with those who believe in walaya. This dignity is a very sensitive issue. The dignity of a Muslim is more important than the sanctity of the Kaaba. You can't play around with people. If you do, bala will descend upon you. This is, the Imam is describing the cause and effect rules of the world, of the cosmos. Allahumma اغفر لي الذنوب التي تغير النعام. O Allah, forgive me those sins that alter the course of blessings. You're always receiving blessings, but these sins then alters the course of you receiving these blessings. Again, the Imam describes what these sins are. الذنوب التي تغير النعام. These sins are tantamount to al-baghy ala nas, oppressing people. والزوال عن العادة في الخير واستناء المعروف. It's good to habituate oneself with good deeds. Abandoning such habits will lead to an alteration in the course of you receiving blessings. Abandoning the process of being habituated by doing good, by behaving well, doing good deeds. وَكُفْرَانٌ النِّعَامِ, being ungrateful with respect to the blessings you receive. You be ungrateful, the blessings will be cut off. وَتَرْكُ الشُّكْرِ, abandoning, displaying gratitude to the bestower of blessings, to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allahumma اغفر لي الذنوب التي تحبس الدعاء. O Allah, forgive me those sins that block one's supplication from being accepted, that prevents one's supplication being accepted. What are they? What are those sins which deny our supplications being actualized. Again, the holy Imam says, الذنوب التي يرد الدعاء, those sins that deny and negate our supplications are, and then he lists 4 or 5 things. سوء النية, having ill intentions. You always have to have the best of intentions with respect to yourself, with respect to your spouse, children, your neighbors, your friends. Always assume the best. Don't let these suspicious feelings predominate your mind. وَخُبْثُ السَّرِيرَةِ, pollutions of the heart. The more and more the heart becomes polluted, the less the probability that your supplications before Allah will be accepted. وَالنِّفَاقُ مَعَ الْإِخْوَانِ, hypocrisy with one's brothers and sisters in religion. You can't act, hypocritically with your brothers and sisters. وَتَرْكُ التَّصْدِيقِ بِالْإِجَابَةِ, not believing in the concept that supplications are to be answered. You have to believe that Allah is Al-Mujib. The belief has to be firm. You have to believe that these supplications, Allah can answer to them and will answer to them. You shouldn't compromise with your belief in this attribute of Allah's. وَتَأْخِيرُ الصَّلَوَاتِ الْمَفْرُوضَاتِ حَتَّى تَذْهَبَ أَوْقَاتُهَا. Another sin which denies our supplications being actualized is when we delay doing our salat, the wajib salat, to such an extent that sometimes it becomes qadha. Even if it doesn't become qadha, this process of delaying it, letting time pass and say, God, I'll do it at the end. We have traditions that people who delay their salat, they do it on time eventually, but it's done with delay. The angels curse them. So how can supplications be accepted when it's accompanied with the cursing of the angels? Try to execute the salat at the first instance. I've come across people in LA who, wherever they are, they do their salat at the first instance. Even if they're in the groceries. But they don't do the ruku and sujood. They just, do it with sign language. Yeah. That's what they believe. It's wrong. According to the Sharia, you can't do that. But still there's some sincerity there. Okay, with these people, if you speak with them gently and show them the way, they may accept. But wherever they are, they do their salat at the first instance. Even when they're shopping, wherever they are. This is a good feature, but they're not doing it the right way though. For the ruku they do that, and with the sujood they go down. And then I said to them, why don't you, it's very good, but why don't you do the whole thing in a corner of a street or somewhere? I said, no, the people may make fun of it and they may not like it. Anyway, the thing is, their intentions are good, but now we have to guide them. Wherever they are, they do the salat at the first instance. Anyway. وَتَرْكُ التَّقَرُّبِ إِلَى اللَّهِ بِالْبِرِّ وَالصَّدَقَةِ, abandoning proximity to Allah by means of abandoning the righteous deeds and abandoning sadaqah. Sadaqah too is an important feature in having one's supplication answered to. Don't abandon the sadaqah. Don't abandon the good deeds. Don't abandon attaining to proximity with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. واستعمال البذاء والفحش في القول. Another cause of one's denial in relation to our supplications being accepted is where we use unacceptable language or where we swear. This is very important. A mouth that doesn't speak well and swears isn't a mouth that Allah will accept that mouth's supplication. Swearing is totally unacceptable in Islam. It's a sin. There's no queries about it. You can't swear. You have to control the mouth. Also, you have to speak well with your family members, with your friends. Sometimes when I'm invited to different places, I feel ashamed how a man speaks to his wife in front of others, or a wife speaks to his husband in front of others. I just want to leave that house as soon as I can. You have to speak with them with respect. Such a mouth, any supplication that comes out of it won't be accepted. This is the Imam saying this. Even with non-Muslims. Allahumma اغفر لي الذنوب التي تنزل البلاء. Oh Allah, forgive me those sins that bring down tribulation. The Imam says, وَالذُّنُوبُ الَّتِي تُنزِلُ الْبَلَاء. These sins that bring down tribulation are تَرْكُ إِغَاثَةِ الْمَلْهُوفِ. Abandoning calling out to the oppressed. Giving a hand to the oppressed. Helping them spiritually. Telling them that we are here with you. Calling out to them. If you don't do this, Bala will be your fate. Call out to those who are oppressed. وَتَرْكُ مُؤَوَنَةِ الْمَظْلُومِ. One step further. Actually assist those who are oppressed. The first one was spiritual assistance. Here is actual assistance. Providing them with material needs. Money, food. Helping the cause of the oppressed. If you don't, you will be oppressed. Either individually or as an ummah. وَتَدْعِيءُ الْأَمْرِ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَالنَّهْيِ عَنِ الْمُنْكَرِ. Not doing the enjoining of virtue and prohibiting vice appropriately. Whenever you can, whenever the conditions are right, you have to enjoin people to virtue. You have to prohibit them from vice. And bima'ruf and nahy munkar has many conditions to it. One of them is that you have to deem it probable that it will be effective. Otherwise, if you think it's not probable, don't even do the amr ma'ruf, because things can even get worse. But if you believe it will be effective, then this is wajib. You abandon this protocol, burden will be your fate. And that's a natural consequence of not doing amr ma'ruf nahy munkar. Allahumma ighfir li kulla dhanbin adhnabtu. Oh Allah, forgive me all the sins that I've committed. Yes. One of the Imams, in one of the traditions, it says, أما إنه ليس من إرغ بغضب ولا نكبة ولا سداء ولا مرض إلا بذنب. Beware that no injury, no difficulty, no bother, no illness occurs save except for the fact it only occurs via sins. All these things occur on sinning. Any injury, any difficulty you face, any burden, any illness, the ultimate celestial cause is sinning. There may be material causes, okay? But all material causes are effects of higher celestial causes. وَذَلِكَ قَوْلُ اللَّهِ وَمَا أَصَابَكُم مِّن مُّصِيبَةٍ فَبِمَا كَسَبَتْ أَيْدِيكُمْ وَيَعْفُو عَن كَثِيرٍ. And this is referred to, the Imam is saying this, and this is referred to in the verse that states, chapter 42:30, and whatever burden befalls you, it is on account of what your hands have brought forth. And yet He, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, forgives most of your faults. And then the Imam says, فَمَا يَعْفُ اللَّهُ أَكْثَرُ مِمَّا يُؤَاخِذُهُ بِهِ. That which Allah forgives well exceeds that which you're punished for. If Allah wanted to act solely on His justice, you should have been punished for much more. It's out of Allah's grace that you're not receiving that punishment that you deserve. Allah is forgiving you a lot, much more than you deserve. We have a tradition that states, إِنَّ الْعَبْدَ لَتُحْبَسُ عَلَى ذَنْبٍ مِّن ذُنُوبِهِ 100 عام وأنه ينظر إلى أزواجه في الجنة يتنعمن. Sometimes a single sin can hold a servant back 100 years in the hereafter. Whilst he's held back, one's wife is receiving all the benefits and is residing in heaven, benefiting from all the blessings. This is one tradition. A single sin has that capacity. Now Allah will forgive, of course, but this should be enough for us to fear such a fate and be careful, not taking sins lightly. Another tradition, ما من شيء أفسد للقلب من خطيئة. Nothing is more polluting to the heart, to the fitra, than sinning. Nothing is more polluting. إن القلب ليواقع الخطيئة فما تزال به حتى تقلب عليه فيسير على أسفله. When the heart sins, it's occupied with the sin, up to the point that the sin permeates to such an extent that the person regards good deeds as bad and vice versa. The sins have permeated through the heart so much that good deeds are now bad, and bad deeds, which the Sharia states is haram or bad, they believe it's good. You shouldn't let sins permeate through the heart. Another tradition, إن الرجل يذنب الذنب فيحرم صلاة الليل. Man's sinning leads to one being prevented from doing Salatul Layl, the night prayer. This doesn't mean you have to do the night prayer every night. It means the night prayer has to be done constantly. Now that can be once a week, once a month, but don't put the night prayer aside in its entirety. The night prayer is important. In the depth of the night, you're waking up, sacrificing, your sleep. And it's only you and Allah, everyone's asleep. You have a certain relationship. They usually say before Salatul Fajr is the best time. But don't put the Salatul Layl aside completely. I think once a week is good. I try once a week. The problem with doing it every night, you may burn yourself out. And then you put it aside completely. If once a week is too much, once a month. But keep it in your program. Don't put it aside completely. Sinning leads people to putting it aside. This is one of the signs of sinning, where sinning has predominated over your fitrah. You disassociate yourself from Salatul Layl. And then the tradition continues. وَإِنَّ الْعَمَلَ السَّيِّئَ أَسْرَعُ فِي صَاحِبِهِ مِنَ السِّكِّينِ فِي اللَّهِ. Sins, the effects of sins penetrate more quickly than the effect of a sharp knife on a piece of meat. You see how quickly when you chop a piece of meat, the effect is immediate. But the effect of sinning is even more immediate than that. Don't take it lightly. Naturally, we're all sinners at the end of the day. No one's immune except the prophets, the imams, the ma'asumeen. Otherwise, we all sin. Everyone sins. That's why we shouldn't judge people ever. Because how do you know that your fate will be better than the other person's fate? No one knows. There have been so many people throughout history whose faith was so strong, their iman was so strong, but their fate ended in disbelief. We have many in history. We see many even today. You don't know. You may fall in the same trap. We don't know. There's no guarantee. This reading Dua Kumayl every week, we have to remember this point and ask Allah that our fate is of those who are guided on the right way. That's the whole philosophy of Dua Kumayl. That constant remembrance of this fact. Anyway, we all sin. There's something called Salatul Tawbah in the traditions. And the fuqaha, everyone, they've authenticated this tradition. It's very good to execute this Salatul Tawbah after any type of sin that you execute. Because many people sin every day. This would be ideal if we do this salat wholeheartedly, after acknowledging that we've done wrong, and after feeling true remorse and regret that we've done it, and acquiring the iron will not to repeat it again. It's good to do this salat. I'll quickly go through it. It's not very difficult. But you can email me, I can send it to the brothers or sisters if it's necessary. This salat is two unit prayers. So it's 2 prayers here, each prayer having 2 units. And you do the 2 prayers one after the other without turning away from the Qibla or speaking to anyone. In each unit, you recite Surah Al-Hamd, then Surah Al-Ikhlas, Qul Huwa Allahu Ahad 3 times. Then Surah Al-Falaq once and Surah Al-Nas once. And then you go into Ruku, Sujood, and then repeat the same. In the second unit, go into Qunut, then again Ruku, Sujood, and then you recite the Salam. Then you rise and do another 2 units in the same fashion. Now when you finish the second 2 units, before you turn away from the Qibla or speaking to anyone, you say Astaghfirullah Rabbi wa atubu ilayh 70 times according to the holy traditions. And when you say it 70 times, recall that sin or those sins that led you to do this tawbah. After reciting the istighfar 70 times, you say this once, this formula. La hawla, there's no power. Wa la quwwata, and there's no force. Illa billah, al-ali al-azim. Save that which arises through Allah, the All-High, the Almighty. Whatever force there is in the world, whatever power there is, it's Allah's. It's not mine or yours. It's only, everything is Allah's. Ya Azizu, O all honorable one, O you by means of whom you alone can we acquire izzah, can we acquire honor. Innal izzata lillah jami'a. You can never acquire honor in this world through other than Allah. Ya Azizu, Ya Ghaffar, O all forgiving one. Ighfirli dhunubi, forgive me my sins. Wa dhunuba jami'il mu'minina wal mu'minat. And the sins of my believing brothers and sisters. In our traditions on repentance, every time we repent, we're advised also to pray for the forgiveness of our brothers and sisters. It's not an individual endeavor. We see this in repentance explicitly. And then فَإِنَّهُ لَا يَغْفِرُ الذُّنُوبِ إِلَّا أَنْتَ. Only you can forgive. No one else can forgive you. If this is done wholeheartedly, inshallah, Allah will accept your repentance. And it's very encouraged to try to do these salats unsinning. There's a tradition that states, At-ta'ibu min al-dhanb, one who repents from sins, kaman la dhanbala, is like one who is sinless. But don't forget, the different stages of repentance have to be abided by. One has to truly acknowledge that sin and that he's done wrong. Feel remorse. Have that regret. Have that iron will not to repeat again. And so on and so forth. One formula that is very encouraged in the traditions is called Zikr Yunusiyye. It's an invocation that Prophet Yunus, Jonah, had recited. La ilaha illa ant, subhanaka inni kuntu min al-dhalimin. There's no deity but you. Subhanaka, glory be to you. Verily I am of those who have done wrong. When I came last time, I related a story. Some of you may have not been here, so I'll quickly go through it again. This invocation is advised by all the urafa in Islam. It's something that they all agree with unanimously. It's very useful for one's spiritual elevation. Also, we have traditions which discuss the uses of this invocation. It relieves sorrow, it relieves depression, it relieves a number of things. But also it helps in one's spiritual elevation. Say Rasulullah. Once I went to Ayatollah Bahjat, rahmatullah alayh, when he was alive. And I said to him, for a beginner in Sayyid Suluk, for someone who's just starting, how many times should one recite this invocation every day? And he said, whether you're a beginner or someone in the advanced stages of Sayyid Suluk, whether you're a mubtadi or a muntahi, the criterion is huzur qalb, presence of the heart, that mental focus. As long as you're focused, you know what you're saying, recite it. But when you lose that focus, that presence of the heart, there's no point. Unfortunately, some books specified these numbers that one has to recite these invocations. They say recite Zikr Yunusiyya 400 times every day or 1,000 times. I've seen 3,000 times. This is nothing that you can find in the traditions of the Ahlul Bayt. Some invocations are specified with a number, but Zikr Yunusiyya, there's no number given in the traditions. There's no need to imprison yourself with these numbers. There's no need to bother yourself. When the focus is there, huzur qalb is there, recite it. If you have no huzur qalb, don't recite it. Now, Hazrat Yunus alayhi salam was a prophet, was a messenger. And without receiving Allah's orders, when he didn't succeed in guiding the people, he left the people. It wasn't a haram action, but it wasn't the best alternative. It wasn't the best option. The best option was to stay with those people. Before receiving guidance from Allah, he left the people. We call that tarka awla, abandoning the best option. Many prophets would abandon the best option. The Imams, though, who are complete manifestations of Allah's attributes, though, they would never even abandon the best option. They were free from the 14 ma'soomeen. But the prophets, but they're all ma'soom. But some prophets did abandon the best option. But they didn't sin from a Shari'i point of view. It doesn't count as sinning, though. Anyway, to cut a long story short, I mean, you all know the story of Yunus. Eventually he was swallowed by a whale. And they speak of 3 veils of darkness which overtook Yunus alayhi salam when he was swallowed by the whale. One was the fact that it was night time when he was thrown off the ship. It was night. The other was the darkness inside the whale. And the third darkness was the darkness in the depths of the sea. You know, in the depths of the sea, there reaches a point where light doesn't reach the depths of the sea. 3 veils of darkness veiled over Hazrat Yunus. This was the exoteric side of the story, the exoteric dimensions of the veils of darkness. But they have esoteric dimensions too. Maybe darkness of the night is tantamount to the difficulty of the day, of the times today. The difficulties of doing tabligh, the difficulties which our era poses upon us. Difficulties of the times, the era. Darkness of the whale's interior is how one may be imprisoned or limited when doing one's duty in this world. We want to act, sometimes in haste, in the world, our worldly activities, and we feel imprisoned. There are limitations. Yunus was imprisoned in the whale's interior. And the depths of the water, sometimes we're surrounded by the ignorance of the masses. That's also a veil of darkness upon us. Now, the last tradition, which demonstrates what I've just explained, says ثَلَاثَةٌ مُوَكَّلٌ بِهَا ثَلَاثَةٌ. There are 3 things which are under the authority of 3 other things. تَهَامُلُ الْأَيَّامِ عَلَى ذِي الْعَدَوَاتِ الْكَامِلَةِ. The absence of compassion of the times for those who have the means of attaining to salvation. The times are difficult. brings barriers for those who are attain to the truth, attempting to attain to Allah, reunite with Allah. The darkness of the night. واستيلاء الحرمان على المتقدم في صنعته. Domination or a preponderance of suppression upon those who act in advance, in haste, with respect to one's duties. A domination of suppression, hirman. One can be imprisoned sometimes, captivated, when he acts in haste in relation to one's duties. The world works like that sometimes. وَالْمُعَادَاةُ الْعَوَامِ عَلَى أَهْلِ الْمَعْرِفَةِ. Enmity of the masses upon those who have ma'rifah, the ignorance of the masses. That can be a veil of darkness too. One has to fight these three veils of darkness. For Yunus alayhi salam, it was in his own degree. We also have three veils of darkness in this world. We have to fight against it and be careful not to veil the fitrah. Inshallah, I'll end there, and tomorrow I'll continue that discussion on pseudo-irfan. Wa sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ali tahari. I wanted to discuss some of the opening clauses of Dua Kumayl. And inshallah tomorrow, because some brothers were expecting me to speak tonight concerning the subject of false irfan. In Dua Kumayl, in the opening section, there are a number of clauses, and these clauses have been commentated upon by the holy Imams themselves. So I thought it may be useful to discuss these with you. Allahumma aghfir li adh-dhunub allati tahtiku al-isam. O Allah, forgive me those sins which tear apart safeguards, which tear the veils of immunity. Many of us are immune to many kinds of sins. For example, we're 100% immune to adultery, inshallah. We're 100% immune to homosexuality. We're 100% immune to a number of sins. However, in this clause, we're asking Allah to forgive us those sins which have the potential and capacity to tear these veils of immunity, which would in turn lead us to any kind of sin. Now, one of the Imams, in one of the traditions in Wasa'il al-Shia, has said, وَالذُّنُوبُ الَّتِي تَحْتِكُ الْإِسَامِ. Those sins which tear apart safeguards, those sins which tear the veils of immunity, leading us to sin, are, and then he gives a list. Shurbul khamr, drinking wine. Drinking wine has this potential. One has to. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. All praises are Allah's, Lord of all worlds. And may His peace and blessings be upon our Master, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, and His pure immaculate Ahlul Bayt. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajjal faraja. Last night I discussed how irfan is being abused today throughout the Muslim markets, Muslim bookshops throughout the world, be it in Iran or America, and how personalities are being grossly exaggerated to the detriment of Islamic doctrinal principles. We discussed a book last night, and I wanted to discuss one tonight, but I've postponed it for tomorrow. So I'll discuss this book for tomorrow, inshallah. Tonight, I'm not saying don't make people laugh. I'm not saying don't be humorous and have a good relationship and discuss sometimes good things with people and make them happy. No, but there's an etiquette to making people laugh. وَذِكْرُ عُيُوبِ النَّاسِ, giving an account of people's faults, reciting people's faults to others. This too breaks the veils of immunity. The Imam is saying this. وَمُجَالَسَةُ أَهْلِ الرَّيْبِ, sitting down with people who are suspicious in behavior. They're doubtful. You don't know who they are. Their accordance with the Sharia is questionable. Sitting down with them on a permanent basis, be careful. It has the potential to lead one to any kind of sin. It can break the veils of immunity. After drinking wine, there's no guarantee what you'll do. وَاللَّعْبُ بِالْقِمَارِ, gambling. That also tears the veils of immunity. وَتَعَاطِي مَا يُضْحِكُ النَّاسِ مِنَ اللَّغْوِ, making people laugh by doing futile things. You have to preserve the veils of chastity sometimes. You can't do anything to make people laugh. There's an etiquette to everything. You can't do futile things and make people laugh as a result of them.